Chapter 2: The Modern Manager's Dilemma. If you're feeling overwhelmed by the sheer scope of what you're expected to handle as a leader, you're not alone, and you're about to discover why it's not your fault. Welcome back to Leadership Without Limits. I'm Vincent Walters, author of Burn Bright Not Out: Sustainable Leadership in a World That Never Slows Down. This is Chapter 2: The Modern Manager's Dilemma. From my book about ending leadership burnout before it destroys your career and costs companies billions. If this is your first time here, I help exhausted leaders transform from surviving to thriving without sacrificing results. And if you're one of those managers caught between impossible competing demands, this chapter will open your eyes to why traditional management advice keeps failing you. Let's dive into Chapter 2: The Expanding Scope of Management Responsibilities. Today's managers face an unprecedented range of responsibilities that would have been inconceivable just a decade ago. Sarah Chen, a mid-level marketing director at a Fortune 500 company, starts her day at 6 a.m. reviewing overnight emails from her global team. By 7 a.m., she's on a video call with the London office about a campaign crisis. At 8 a.m., she's mediating a conflict between two team members who've been working remotely for 3 years and barely know each other. By 9 a.m., she's analyzing productivity metrics that her company's new AI system flagged as concerning. This isn't unusual. It's the new normal. Modern managers are expected to be strategic visionaries, operational experts, technology adopters, emotional intelligence coaches, crisis managers, and culture builders simultaneously. The traditional command and control model has been replaced by a complex web of responsibilities that span across departments, time zones, and skill sets. Research from the Harvard Business Review shows that the average manager's role now encompasses 15 to 20 distinct competencies, compared to 6 to 8 in the 1990s. These include data analysis, remote team management, cross-cultural communication, mental health awareness, and continuous learning facilitation. The expansion isn't just horizontal, it's vertical too, with managers expected to understand everything from board-level strategy to individual employee wellness. Why managers are caught between competing demands? The squeeze on modern managers comes from multiple directions, creating what organizational psychologists call role strain. Consider Marcus Thompson, an operations manager at a manufacturing plant. His CEO wants him to reduce costs by 15% while maintaining quality standards. His employees need support navigating new safety protocols. His customers demand faster delivery times. His shareholders expect innovation and growth. The HR department requires him to conduct quarterly reviews, implement new training programs, and ensure compliance with evolving regulations. Each stakeholder group has legitimate needs and expectations, but satisfying one often means disappointing another. When Marcus cuts costs, employee morale suffers. When he focuses on employee development, productivity metrics decline. When he prioritizes customer demands, safety protocols get rushed. This isn't a failure of management. It's a structural problem in how modern organizations operate. The competing demands create what researchers call impossible jobs, positions where success in one area inevitably leads to failure in another. A 2023 study by McKinsey found that 72% of managers report feeling caught in the middle between conflicting organizational priorities, with 58% saying this tension is getting worse year over year. The ripple effect: when leaders burn out, teams suffer. Leadership burnout doesn't occur in isolation. It cascades through organizations like a virus. When managers are overwhelmed, their teams feel it immediately. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, an organizational behavior researcher, tracked 500 teams across 50 companies and found that manager burnout predicted team performance decline with 89% accuracy. The symptoms are predictable. Burned-out managers make slower decisions, communicate less effectively, and become more reactive rather than proactive. They start missing important meetings, delaying feedback, and avoiding difficult conversations. Their teams, sensing the leader's stress, become more anxious and less innovative. Productivity drops, turnover increases, and the organization's overall health deteriorates. Take the case of a software development team at a tech startup. When their engineering manager, David Kim, began showing signs of burnout, working 70-hour weeks, snapping at team members, and missing key project deadlines. The entire team's performance suffered. Code quality declined, internal conflicts increased, and three of their top developers started looking for new jobs. The company's flagship product launch was delayed by 4 months, costing them a critical market opportunity. The ripple effect extends beyond immediate teams. Other departments that depend on the burned-out manager's team also suffer. Customer service receives more complaints, sales teams struggle with delayed product features, and executive leadership loses confidence in the entire division. Primary case study, Jacinda Ardern's resignation. Perhaps no case illustrates the modern leadership dilemma better than Jacinda Ardern's unexpected resignation as New Zealand Prime Minister in January 2023. At 42, Ardern had led New Zealand through some of its most challenging periods: the Christchurch shooting, the White Island volcanic eruption, and the COVID-19 pandemic. She was internationally praised for her empathetic leadership style and effective crisis management. Yet on January 19, 2023, Ardern announced her resignation, stating simply, "I no longer have enough in the tank to lead." Her words resonated with leaders worldwide because they captured something many were feeling, but few were brave enough to articulate. Despite being at the height of her political influence, Ardern recognized that effective leadership requires more than competence. It requires sustainable energy and emotional reserves. Ardern's resignation highlighted several critical aspects of modern leadership burnout. First, it demonstrated that burnout affects leaders at every level, regardless of their success or public support. Second, it showed that sustainable leadership requires honest self-assessment and the courage to step away when necessary. Third, it revealed how the modern media landscape and 24/7 political environment create unsustainable pressures on leaders. The international reaction to Ardern's resignation was telling. While some criticized her for abandoning her responsibilities, many leaders privately expressed understanding and even admiration for her decision. Business executives, school principals, and department heads across industries saw their own struggles reflected in her honest assessment of her capacity. Supporting examples. Business, the 53% crisis. The 2024 Workplace Leadership Study conducted by Gallup revealed that 53% of managers across all industries report experiencing burnout symptoms. This isn't a temporary spike. It represents a 23% increase from 2019 levels. The study tracked 15,000 managers across 50 countries and found consistent patterns regardless of industry or company size. Jennifer Martinez, a regional sales manager for a pharmaceutical company, exemplifies these statistics. Despite exceeding her sales targets for 3 consecutive years, she found herself working weekends, struggling to sleep, and feeling emotionally drained by constant pressure to do more with less. Her company had reduced her support staff by 40% while increasing her territory by 60%. "I'm managing twice as many people with half the resources," she explains. "Something has to give." The business impact is measurable. Companies with managers reporting high burnout levels show 27% higher turnover rates, 18% lower customer satisfaction scores, and 15% decreased profitability compared to organizations with healthy management practices. Education, principal burnout crisis. The education sector provides a stark example of leadership burnout's systemic impact. Dr. Robert Chen, principal of Lincoln Elementary School in suburban Chicago, represents thousands of educational leaders facing impossible demands. In addition to traditional administrative duties, Chen must navigate budget cuts, implement new technology systems, manage COVID-19 protocols, address teacher shortages, and respond to increasing parent demands, all while maintaining student achievement standards. A 2023 study by the National Association of Elementary School Principals found that 35% of principals are considering leaving their positions within the next 2 years, with 78% citing burnout as the primary reason. The study documented cases where principal burnout led to measurable declines in student performance, teacher retention, and community engagement. Chen's experience is typical. "I'm spending 60% of my time on compliance and administrative tasks that don't directly impact student learning. Meanwhile, teachers are leaving faster than we can replace them. Parents are more demanding than ever, and the district keeps adding new initiatives without removing old ones. Political, congressional staff turnover. The political arena reveals perhaps the most extreme version of leadership burnout. During the 2021 to 2022 legislative session, congressional staff turnover reached 36%, the highest level in 2 decades. Chief of staff positions, which require managing complex political operations while maintaining constituent relationships, showed even higher turnover rates. Maria Rodriguez, former chief of staff to a House representative, describes the impossible balancing act. You're managing a $2 million budget, overseeing 15 staff members, coordinating with multiple committees, responding to media requests, handling constituent crises, and ensuring your boss is prepared for votes, all while managing your own family life and health. The high-pressure environment creates a cycle where experienced staff leave, forcing inexperienced replacements to take on overwhelming responsibilities without adequate support. This creates institutional knowledge gaps that further stress remaining staff members. Rodriguez eventually left politics entirely, joining a nonprofit organization. I realized I was becoming a person I didn't recognize, irritable, exhausted, and ineffective. The system isn't designed for sustainable leadership. Cross-sector insights. Universal patterns in role expansion and competing priorities. Despite operating in vastly different environments, leaders across all sectors face remarkably similar patterns of role expansion and competing priorities. A comprehensive 2024 study by the International Leadership Institute analyzed 2,000 leaders across healthcare, technology, education, government, and nonprofit sectors, revealing 5 universal patterns that transcend industry boundaries. The technology multiplier effect appears everywhere. Hospital administrators must master electronic health records while maintaining patient care standards. School principals navigate learning management systems while preserving educational quality. Corporate executives implement AI tools while ensuring human connection. The pattern is consistent. Each technological advancement promises efficiency, but initially creates additional complexity that leaders must absorb. Dr. Amanda Foster, Chief Medical Officer at Regional Health System, illustrates this perfectly. 5 years ago, I focused on clinical outcomes and staff management. Now I'm debugging software, interpreting data analytics, training staff on 3 different platforms, and explaining to the board why our efficiency metrics show we're working harder than ever. Her experience mirrors that of manufacturing plant managers implementing Industry 4.0 systems, bank executives rolling out digital services, and even church leaders managing online congregations. The stakeholder multiplication phenomenon affects every leadership role. Modern leaders serve not just their direct reports and immediate supervisors, but an expanding web of stakeholders with legitimate but often conflicting needs. Corporate managers answer to shareholders, employees, customers, regulators, and community groups. School principals serve students, parents, teachers, district officials, state agencies, and local communities. Nonprofit directors balance donor expectations, program participants, board members, volunteer coordinators, and government oversight bodies. The scope creep spiral follows predictable stages across all sectors. Stage 1. Leaders take on additional responsibilities to help during temporary crises. Stage 2. These responsibilities become permanent without corresponding resource increases. Stage 3. New initiatives are added without removing existing ones. Stage 4. The role becomes unmanageable, leading to either burnout or system failure. Captain Lisa Chen of Metro Fire Department exemplifies this progression. Initially responsible for emergency response coordination, she now manages community outreach programs, social media communications, budget planning, equipment procurement, staff wellness initiatives, and interagency coordination. Each addition made sense in isolation, she explains, but nobody stepped back to ask whether one person could effectively handle all these responsibilities. The 24/7 expectation trap spans every industry. Healthcare leaders receive emergency calls at midnight. Technology executives manage global teams across time zones. Educational administrators handle parent crises on weekends. Government officials respond to media inquiries during family dinners. The expectation of constant availability has become normalized, creating unsustainable pressure regardless of sector. The emotional labor intensification affects all leadership roles. Modern leaders are expected to be technical experts, strategic thinkers, and emotional support systems simultaneously. They must navigate difficult conversations, manage team conflicts, support struggling employees, and maintain organizational morale while dealing with their own stress and uncertainty. Sector-specific adaptations, how different industries handle scope creep and resource constraints. While universal patterns exist, different industries have developed distinct approaches to managing leadership challenges. Understanding these sector-specific adaptations reveals both successful strategies and cautionary tales that can inform better practices across all fields. Healthcare, the triage model. Healthcare organizations have developed sophisticated triage systems that prioritize critical tasks while managing competing demands. Dr. Patricia Williams, Emergency Department Director at Metropolitan Hospital, applies clinical triage principles to her administrative responsibilities. We classify tasks as immediate, urgent, or routine, just like we do with patients, she explains. Board meetings are immediate, budget reviews are urgent, and policy updates are routine. Healthcare leaders have also pioneered the huddle system, brief daily meetings that quickly align teams and identify emerging issues before they become crises. These 10-minute sessions allow leaders to maintain oversight without constant interruption. Many hospitals have adopted protected time policies, blocking specific hours for administrative work without clinical interruptions. However, healthcare's adaptation efforts face unique challenges. The life and death nature of medical work makes it difficult to defer decisions or delegate critical responsibilities. Dr. Williams notes, in business, you can sometimes delay a decision for a day or two. In healthcare, delay can literally kill someone. Technology, the sprint methodology. Technology companies have adapted agile development principles to leadership roles, breaking complex responsibilities into manageable sprints. James Liu, engineering director at a Silicon Valley startup, manages 50 engineers across 4 time zones using modified Scrum principles. We run 2-week leadership sprints, he explains. I identify the 3 most critical leadership tasks for each sprint and defer everything else. Tech leaders have pioneered asynchronous communication tools that reduce meeting fatigue while maintaining team coordination. They use automated systems to handle routine decisions and implement default-to-action policies that empower team members to make decisions without constant approval. The technology sector's strength lies in its comfort with experimentation and rapid iteration. When leadership systems fail, tech companies quickly adapt and try new approaches. However, this constant change can create its own stress, as leaders must continuously learn new tools and processes. Education, the distributed leadership model. Educational institutions have developed distributed leadership models that spread responsibilities across multiple people rather than concentrating them in single roles. Principal Karen Martinez at Roosevelt High School leads a leadership team of 5 department heads, each managing specific aspects of school operations. I'm not trying to be an expert in special education, athletics, curriculum, and facilities, she explains. I have trusted leaders for each area. Educational leaders have also implemented data walls and visual management systems that make school performance transparent and actionable. These tools help leaders quickly identify problems and allocate resources effectively. Many schools have adopted instructional rounds where leaders regularly observe classrooms and provide immediate feedback, preventing small issues from becoming major problems. The education sector's challenge lies in external mandates that often conflict with internal needs. Principal Martinez notes, we can create the most efficient internal systems, but when the state changes testing requirements or the district mandates new programs, we still have to absorb that complexity. Government, the cabinet system. Government organizations have long used cabinet and committee structures to manage complex responsibilities. City Manager Robert Thompson leads a team of department heads who manage specific functions like public works, finance, and community development. The key is clear delineation of responsibilities and regular communication, he explains. Each department head has authority within their domain, but we coordinate on issues that cross boundaries. Government leaders have developed sophisticated stakeholder management systems that systematically address competing demands. They use town halls, advisory committees, and structured feedback processes to manage public input while maintaining decision-making authority. Many local governments have implemented performance dashboards that make progress visible to both staff and citizens. Government's strength lies in its formal structures and processes, which provide stability and predictability. However, these same structures can create bureaucratic delays and make rapid adaptation difficult. Thompson notes, our systems work well for routine operations, but they struggle with crisis response and innovation. Nonprofit, the resource maximization model. Nonprofit organizations operating with limited resources have developed innovative approaches to leadership efficiency. Maria Santos, Executive Director of Community Action Network, manages a $2 million budget with only 2 full-time administrative staff. We've had to become extremely creative about resource utilization, she explains. Every system we implement must serve multiple purposes. Nonprofit leaders have pioneered shared service models where multiple organizations pool resources for common functions, like IT support, financial management, and human resources. They use volunteer expertise to supplement staff capacity and create board committees that handle specific leadership functions. The nonprofit sector excels at stakeholder engagement and community building, skills that help leaders manage competing demands through relationship building rather than formal authority. However, resource constraints mean that nonprofit leaders often work longer hours and take on more diverse responsibilities than their counterparts in other sectors. Manufacturing, the lean leadership approach. Manufacturing organizations have applied lean principles to leadership roles, eliminating waste and focusing on value-added activities. Plant manager Carlos Rodriguez at Precision Manufacturing uses daily Gemba walks to observe operations and identify issues before they escalate. I spend 2 hours every morning on the factory floor, he explains. This prevents most problems from reaching crisis level. Manufacturing leaders have developed sophisticated metrics and visual management systems that make operational performance immediately visible. They use standard work principles to systematize routine leadership tasks and create leadership boards that track key performance indicators in real time. The manufacturing sector's strength lies in its systematic approach to process improvement and problem solving. Leaders regularly use root cause analysis and continuous improvement methodologies to address systemic issues. However, the focus on efficiency can sometimes overlook the human elements of leadership, particularly in managing remote or knowledge workers. The path forward, learning across sectors. These sector-specific adaptations reveal that successful leadership isn't about finding one perfect solution. It's about systematically addressing the universal challenges while adapting to sector-specific constraints. The most effective leaders study approaches from other industries and adapt them to their own contexts. The following chapters will explore how to implement these insights practically, building sustainable leadership systems that acknowledge both universal patterns and sector-specific realities. The goal isn't to eliminate complexity. Modern organizations are inherently complex. The goal is to create systems that allow leaders to manage complexity effectively while maintaining their own health and effectiveness. Understanding both the universal patterns and sector-specific adaptations provides the foundation for building better leadership practices. As these examples demonstrate, the solution isn't to work harder. It's to work more systematically and strategically. Let me summarize the 3 critical insights from Chapter 2. First, modern managers face 15 to 20 distinct competencies compared to 6 to 8 in the 1990s. You're not imagining it. The scope of leadership has genuinely exploded beyond what any individual can sustainably handle. Second, 72% of managers feel caught in the middle between conflicting organizational priorities. These aren't management failures. They're impossible jobs by design, where success in one area inevitably leads to failure in another. Third, manager burnout predicts team performance decline with 89% accuracy. When you burn out, it doesn't just hurt you. It cascades through your entire organization like a virus, affecting productivity, turnover, and overall organizational health. The solution isn't better time management or working harder. It's recognizing that modern leadership roles need systematic redesign. If Chapter 2 opened your eyes to why you've been struggling with impossible competing demands and why it's not your fault, the complete Burn Bright Not Out contains the systematic solutions leaders like Jacinda Ardern wish they'd had. You'll get the triage frameworks, distributed leadership models, and stakeholder management systems that actually work in today's complex environment, plus real case studies from leaders across every sector who've successfully navigated these challenges. Grab your copy on Amazon using the link in the description, https://a.co/d/izbgy3k. But here's where your real breakthrough happens. If you're ready to stop just understanding why leadership feels impossible and actually redesign your approach for sustainability, I've created the complete Stop Leadership Burnout Before It Destroys Your Career course. This goes way beyond the book. You get step-by-step video modules on implementing sector-specific adaptations, worksheets for mapping your own competing demands, and direct access to me for your specific leadership challenges. You'll learn exactly how to apply the healthcare triage model, technology sprint methodology, or distributed leadership approach to your unique situation. My YouTube subscribers get exclusive access through this link, https vincentwalters.mykajabi.com offers share NT ABM checkout. And honestly, after seeing how 53% of managers are burning out from structurally impossible jobs, can you afford to keep struggling alone? Subscribe if you're ready to break free from the modern manager's dilemma. Comment below, which of the 5 universal patterns hit closest to home for you? Hit that bell so you don't miss Chapter 3, where we dive into the practical frameworks for building sustainable leadership systems that actually work. Remember, you're not failing at leadership. Leadership roles have been designed to fail, but there are proven ways to redesign your approach for sustainability and success. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week in Chapter 3, where we explore the specific systems and strategies that transform impossible jobs into manageable, effective leadership roles. Until then, burn bright, not out.